Dude.
What?
Dude, I just realized I've owned this for forever, and I did not notice.
Nice.
I have an unused code sitting in here. Oh my god.
Nice.
I don't care. I love that movie.
Yeah,
You're gonna see on my ranking. I put it higher than a lot of people would, and that's fine. That's fine. I get it. I understand. I can agree, but also it's what I enjoy. Like, and I think that's part of why we started this channel. Is John and I have very opposite views on quite a few things, and then very similar views. I mean, if you go back and watch our Batman videos and then our Christmas rankings and stuff like that, we're just
Child's Play.
Hey, and like that.
Oh, that's nuts.
Dude,
cheers. That's nuts.
Yeah, cheers.
We're related.
Almost. God, at this point.
Yeah, dude. Like what pisses me off is like I feel like I'm right when you're wrong. Like when we don't agree. But then, like, most of the people that comment on the videos or, like, hang out with us in here side with you, and it pisses me off. And it makes me think about my life decisions even more than I had beforehand. But anyway.
Well, don't be upset. Because, I mean, you know, I give Freddy's Dead a lot of credit, and most people don't. And that's fine. That's fine. You also gave Valentine a 7. So, we're
love
good.
Valentine. I love Valentine. Speaking of which, hang on. Backwards. Valentine. Yeah,
Nice.
buddy. Collector's edition. I cannot wait to watch this. Oh, my God. Yeah,
Man,
Paul says horror is my favorite movie genre. Yeah, buddy.
I am so excited that I got to pick this up. Most copies that I've seen are used and are $25. Amazon, shockingly, if you go and search, it's under multi-format. It said it had like 5 copies left, and it was like $8 or something, I think. And I was like, bye.
Yeah, I gotta get that. All right, man. Let's jump right into this. This is gonna be very informal. I don't know the names to all these people. I didn't have time to memorize it. Life is crazy. I've seen these movies multiple times, so I feel pretty solid in my rankings and my opinions on most of these. And
Okay.
yeah, I'll say this again probably later, but in my opinion, in these movies, for the most part, the actors do a good job. They do what they're told to do. Whether or not I like their version, right, but whether or not I like their version is a separate story, but for the most part, I think the actors, for the characters they're portraying, did a pretty good job. And some of them just blow me away.
Yeah.
So let's see.
No,
Paul's seen most of these. Deb's in here with us. I don't know. I don't think you ever met Deb, but super nice gal. And she's a horror fan. Yeah, she hasn't seen Texas Chainsaw Massacre, so I've been trying to be kind of vague. Not that you can't really spoil too terribly much, but I'll keep like endings and big spoilers pretty vague. And just because we'll dive into this further, maybe we'll do more like spoiler hits. So we'll keep most things vague tonight. It was one of my favorite genres for forever. Then back after kids started watching, yep. Movies to get the toe back. Yeah, it's having kids. I think I dived. I've always been into horror, always since I was a little kid and saw Misery for the first time and Silence of the Lambs when I was way too young, probably like 5 years old. And then it's hard when it's easier to be a horror fan when you have a friend that likes horror, like I've got Caleb, because you can talk about things, you can bounce things, you can be like, oh my God, can you believe that he was doing a handstand and got cut in half while he was half naked, and like all this crazy stuff. Like most movies have like some talking points, but horror has the like, oh my God, you know what I mean? Like it has those, like it can go there, it can make you uncomfortable. There are a couple things in horror that Caleb and I don't care to watch, and that's just us. I'm not saying I want horror to be dangerous. I want it to be gritty, but that doesn't necessarily mean I want to see some of it. I know most of those when it happens, it just seems, yeah. Okay, good. Yeah, Deb says she knows most of what happens. I'll still keep it fairly vague, just so that way it's more interesting if we do another thing later. I grew up and had most horror marathons on AMC. Yeah, buddy. And it's nice, too, with AMC, the way they cut things. Somehow, some way, when you're a kid and your imagination runs, it's like watching the It 90 series. and you don't see a whole lot, but
Dude.
your mind as a kid just fills in those gaps, and sometimes it's scarier than what you see.
Dude, when I was a kid, I remember it was TNT that did
Mm-hmm.
horror movie showdowns around Halloween. And for some reason, I always started around Halloween on a Saturday, and I always caught Friday 5. And the TV edit of that movie, for some reason, is in my brain forever. So whenever I watch like the actual copy, I'm like, where'd that scene come from? Like
Right.
I'm so used to the TV edit for that. I don't know. And there's quite a few movies that are like that. That the way they stacked them, just yes,
Yeah.
yes. Some channels do a terrible job. Like I saw one channel did like Halloween 3 and then Halloween H2O, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
stretching.
It's funny what they put on TV and what they don't. Like I never saw Halloween 4 and 5 on TV. You never saw Halloween 6, but you
Nope.
saw H2O all the time. Saw H. You saw the original Halloween. You saw 2. But let's start off. Let's go off with. We'll just go big. Let's go big to begin, and then we'll kind of, because everything else after this will just kind of filter in with it and kind of build on it. Let's start off with the ranking of the franchise. I think
All
that's the
right,
best place to start. So we've got, I
let's
think
do
it's
it.
8 movies, right? We got 1,
8
2,
movies.
3, 4,
Mm-hmm.
and then we got the reboots, 5, 6, and then we've got 2013, which goes back to a sequel after the first movie, and then we've got 2017, and then we'll have this new one coming out. So it will be 9. Halloween's my favorite franchise. I saw all of them. Heck yeah, man. I hear you on that. Not my favorite, but it's up there. It's up there.
It's mine.
I'm looking at my Halloween collection right now as I talk. But anyway, so Caleb, let's go worst. Yeah, let's go worst to best. Let's go worst to best.
Yeah, I think that's the way to do it. I have a feeling you and I are either going to have the same top 2 or inverted.
Yeah, and Paul, pop in here too as we go, man. Yeah, I've seen all chainsaws. If there's 8, yep, yeah, there is. All right, so let's go.
Yep,
Paul, go with
there's
us as we go. You pop it in there too. Caleb, you go ahead. What's the worst?
So, okay, John and I have actually randomly had conversations about Texas Chainsaw franchise. So, for the longest time, I had one of these in the worst spot. John actually convinced me. So, worst spot is going to be Leatherface 2017, and just barely. I do think as a standalone film, if it wouldn't have hooked into the Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise, it would have been a very good road horror movie. I mean, it is gory, it is graphic, it is over the top. It fits perfect for something like that. Could have been, if they would have taken those bones and given it to Rob Zombie, I think it would have been a really good Rob Zombie style movie. Like that would have worked. Unfortunately, that's not what we got. They hooked us in with a red herring that as soon as they gave that shot, it just killed the movie. I was standing in my kitchen making food and my TV was around the corner. I dropped my food like, no, you can't. That's so you're telling me that the like 5'11" guy who weighs 160 soaking wet is gonna be the 6'8", 300-pound mass that is Leatherface? Come on.
Right. This is the spoiler I probably would have. This is the spoiler I probably would have hid. But yeah, it's a piece of doo doo because, and it's almost better if we spoil it for you because that way you can kind of get that out of the way and just go with the movie and accept what's going to happen. Other than this shock ending where yeah, it creates a conversation, but it's crap. It ruins the whole movie. Like. It's like the smoking gun. If there's a gun in the room in a horror movie, then use it. Don't just keep the rifle on the wall and never touch it. You know what I'm saying? Like it's a piece of crap. Like the whole movie itself is enjoyable. It's not boring, but like I was talking about earlier. You had the whole opportunity to go back. This is a prequel. You could bring back all the characters in from the franchise, right? There are timelines that don't exist to that original movie, but you could bring in all those characters because there's characters that I'm sure we didn't know of in the original movie. And they wasted it. The guys they got to play the original character, I know. Caleb just went for it. I couldn't stop him. He just went for it.
I mean, it's 2017 and it was released direct to I think Dish Network. Like that's I mean
To be honest, dude,
Is it really a spoiler?
it's one of the worst twists in a movie I've ever seen. To be honest, like
Mhm.
I would want somebody to spoil that for me because, like I said, that way I could get past it and watch the movie on its own. The movie doesn't hit it. The movie doesn't hit any of the real. I mean, it touches on it, on some of the family aspects, touches on a little bit of what was happening ish, has some underlying comedy ish. It is gritty. It is nasty. It just misses the mark overall. It's not a good Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie because where it was trying to hit you in all the nostalgic feels, it misses. The twist is the worst piece of garbage. I hate this movie. It's at the bottom for me for sure. If you didn't like it, sorry, if you didn't know it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if you didn't know it was tied in there, yeah. And if they actually maybe followed this up with like a new movie to where it erased the first movie and kept going on with its own thing, I could buy that a little bit more. Otherwise, it's a piece of doo-doo. That's our number 8. Caleb, what's number 7?
Number 7 for me is going to be Texas Chainsaw Massacre: Next Generation. This movie, man, it is rough. I feel like, I mean, this is the movie that got shelved because Matthew McConaughey and Renee Zellweger didn't want their names to be attached to it because they became successful right after filming it.
McConaughey's lawyers got involved.
Yeah, there was issue after issue after issue with getting it out there. And then once you watch it, I know John's got a little bit that he's going to touch on when he gets to this in the ranking, but I don't like the characterization of Leatherface here. I don't think that yet again another whole new family is a great approach. But then again, like most films in this franchise, they are trying to go back and either soft reboot or soft sequel the original. Before Halloween did it, Texas Chainsaw Massacre did it with the second movie. They did it with the third movie. They kind of did it with the fourth movie. They just kept doing it over and over again. So it's got to be Next Generation. Some of the acting is over the top. I will say, though, there's something to be said. I was maybe 10 years old, and I caught it on, like, Showtime or something like that. And, you know, late at night, that's what there was, like, B-rated horror movies. And that one was on a lot. So I got really familiar with it.
Yeah, they were trying to cash in on those famous names.
Yeah, I also think hands down that is the least scary looking Leatherface throughout the movie.
Yeah, no question, question. Yeah, I'm everything you just said. Yeah, it's my number 7. It's the next worst on the list. And I want to get to Deb's comment real quick here, and then I'll come back to this. Deb, this is something that was actually on my list, but since you already said it, I want to address it now. What would you recommend somebody watch this? Now, this is something I wanted to talk about because this is a franchise that will wear you out. Even a horror fan can get worn out super fast on Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise. I would not watch them in order of release. I would watch 74, and then I wouldn't snort cocaine, but if you're like whacked out of your mind, tired, like kids have worn you out all day, which is basically every day, get you an energy drink and you're like, get you a Four Loko where you're like buzzing and you're like, you know, like losing your mind hyper, and watch 86 TCM. And then I would recommend 2013 Leatherface, which is a sequel to 74 Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Well, I would watch those 3 films. And then, so it's going to go all like this because it's weird, and they like 2013 feels more like 74. It just has more of a connective tissue in some respects, just in the cinematography and the grimy, like slow pace of like normal life, I guess. It's not cracked out 80s, but I would watch 74, 86, and then I would watch 2013 Texas Chainsaw 3D. And then I would watch. I will text you. So I would watch those 3, and then I would go and I would watch. It depends on. Okay, it also depends on if you're wearing out. If you're really wearing out, I would watch 74 It depends on if you. This is hard because if you lose
Oh my god.
love for this,
Okay.
if you lose love for this, you're not going to make it through any of these. But 74,
Hold on.
86,
Hold on.
13,
Time,
03,
time out.
and 06. What?
Time out. Time out. I think it has to be said that with the Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise, there is a mood for every film.
Right.
The original, if you are having a great day and want a movie to laugh, it's probably not the best movie to watch. I don't even watch it that often, and it's one of my all-time favorite horror movies. It's a rough watch. But I do think it should go first. The second feels more like a comedy. The third feels like, what? The fourth is like, oh my god, I don't know what's happening here. And then it like each movie has this own, as John would say, flavor that makes it unique and also difficult to connect to the previous entry. And it doesn't help that I believe every single film has had a new director, producer, somebody making creative decisions on board.
Except for
Besides 1 and 2.
74 and 86, but there were also different studios involved. The rights were owned by a gangster. Anyway, for the most part, like if we're going on like quality-wise and enjoyment, I think 74, 86, 13. These are the years: 74, 86, 13, and then go watch 2003 and then 2006. 2006 is a prequel, so if you like watching prequels first to not be spoiled on future, I'd say watch 2006 first. That's all your opinion on how you like movies. But let's get back to the ranking. I'm sorry, it's wild, it's all over the place. Caleb is 100% correct on the moods, but it also depends on if you're wearing out. If you're like, because if you get to 3 and 3 is kind of, you got to be in the mood for it. And if you're not in the mood for 3, you're dead. 74, 86, 13, 03, 06. You're bingo. But if you like the prequels, if you like to watch prequels before the sequel, it's like Star Wars. Do you want to watch 1, 2, 3 and then 4, 5, 6? Or you want to watch how they came out 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3? I would recommend watching the prequel first. That's how I would like to watch it. That's not how it worked because I saw these both in theaters. How I like to watch things, I would watch 06 first and then 03.
I would start with 03 because it sets a bar, and it's kind of revealing when you watch 06 and you're like, oh, stop changing it up. Yeah,
but it's a good build to 03 as well, right? Because 2006 is a bit of a slower build. So if you already had all that stuff in your brain, I think 03 would be a better watch just on the back of each other. But anyway, let's get back to the ranking. But Caleb is completely right on the moods. But anyway, so number 9 was 17.
Yeah.
8 was Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
8 was 7. 8 was 17, 7 was Next Gen, now we're on to 6.
Right. What is your number 6?
I want to preface this with pretty much the next 3 are interchangeable on any given day. I enjoy all of the entries from here on out, and I will watch them at random times. The last 2 very, very rarely get played. Because there's just not that much enjoyment for me, even though I do have this up here. I don't care. It's got cool artwork.
Matthew McConaughey is awesome in that movie.
Yeah, he is. Next, I am going to, and John's probably going to have a heart attack, I'm going to put Texas Chainsaw Massacre at the beginning, 2006. Now, I want to say, I don't have anything negative to say, other than it is over-the-top gory from what 2003's Texas Chainsaw Massacre was. I thoroughly enjoy the entry, but there's a lot of copy and paste from 03, which isn't necessarily bad because it feels like it's in the same universe. It feels like a good, honest prequel. I don't know.
We talked... Yeah. We talked about it last week, how the 06 and 03 are the closest to the same
Mhm.
universe, the same. I mean, it's like they shot one movie,
Yeah.
turn around, and on the same lot with the same everybody, and shot the next one. Like it is phenomenally
Yeah.
good. Like it might be the
Yeah.
best duo in all horror franchises. I mean,
Yeah.
I can't think of another one that does it better than '06 and '03.
No, and like I said, keep in mind when you're listening to my ranking, these three middles are completely interchangeable depending on the day. They could swap places all over. It doesn't really matter to me, but I enjoy the movie a lot. I think that Barnarski, pronounce, does an amazing job as Leatherface. I think that Arlie Ermy is the glue to '03 and '06. I cannot believe how phenomenal of a job they did with casting for this. I've seen it so many times, and oh, that's just where it falls for right now. Tomorrow you could ask me, and it might be higher up.
It's Arlie Ermey's best role, and I say that I've seen Full Metal Jacket. He's great in that movie. I've seen Toy Story. He's great as one of those little green soldiers. But this is the two movies where he is phenomenal. So anyway,
Mhm.
my number 6 is Leatherface 3. 1990 Leatherface 3. It is a piece of doo-doo. Now, I will say that it's better than it should be for all the issues that it had. For hiring and directing a director and firing him and hiring him right back, all in the same week. For having all the cast, like I was saying, all the cast, all the areas picked out, all the script is ready to go, and then you hire a director. Like, the tone is wonky, and
Oh yeah.
it's very dry, and then it's got some dry humor that sometimes takes more than one watch to get, because when you're first watching it, you're just like, it is immersive, so that's good, and the Leatherface in it's very good. It's
Yeah.
everything else that's just the tone and the flavor is just all over the place because they were flying by the seat of their pants, and it was all about making money, cashing in. It's not a horrible movie. I said it was a piece of doo-doo. There's some redeeming factors if you watch it more than once and if you love the franchise. But for the most part, I would tell most people to skip this one, because if you watch this, if you're not on board after 2, the flavor change from 2 to 4 or from 2 to 3 is nuts, and it'll kill your ambitions to watch any more if you don't like 3. It just will. It'll take the wind right out of your sails. Sorry, I'm trying to read. Jabari says, I've seen The Next Generation once. I remember thinking it was okay. Felt like the director of RoboCop drunk 1 or 2 beers and made it. It's a fever dream. You are 100% correct. I do feel that once again, it could be a sequel to 2 and 3. Could be. It just kind of, it's literally doing its own thing. And you're right. Yeah. It's a fever dream where somebody's just like, I'm going to throw in some of the ingredients and see what happens. We're going to do wild crap every 5 seconds, and yeah, I hear you, man. So sorry, going back to that, there's some good, there's some bad. Most of it's a skip, for especially if you're not a diehard fan of this franchise. But the Leatherface in it,
Yeah.
saves the movie for me. Caleb, what is your number 5?
Number 5 is actually Leatherface, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3.
Finally,
the reasons he listed above, the reasons he listed above are all there. But for me, it's one of the earlier Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies that I saw. I remember I was a little kid. We may or may not have had bootleg cable. I plead the fifth. And Leatherface Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3 was on. I just remember seeing Ken Faree, and I was like, what is this? I haven't seen this before. Like, I was familiar with the actor. I had seen him in different things. And I see Leatherface, and I'm like, what is happening? I don't understand what's going on. So having that young curiosity and that nostalgia and that, like, those memories with how I found it is why it ranks higher for me. But then again, like I said, these 3 completely change around the order tomorrow, probably. It is one that I play more often. It is one that I enjoy. it is one that has a lot of holes and does not make sense. Um, but I mean, there's worse movies. There's way worse movies out there. So, yeah, Leatherface, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3 is my number 5.
Oh boy, so my number 5. Let's see. This hurts. I don't want to put this here, but it's got to fall somewhere. And my number 5 spot will be the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3D that I saw in 3D in the theaters. 2013 was a big year for me. This movie came out. I got married. I had a dog. We got a dog. We bought my wife her car, which she's still driving today. Thank God. But no, this is Alexandria Daddario. Holy jumping Jiminy! Like, moment of silence. She's a phenomenal actress. Let's just say that, okay? Love Alexandria Daddario. I like that they actually use her looks in the movie to help sell her character. And that's not a bad thing. Like, they do a really good job tying it. Like, with I don't want to spoil anything. It's just awesome. It had a trouble production again. It's like TCM. It's like people that want to make money off of a known franchise, but they just want to, like, everybody wants to put their own opinions on it. Nobody can agree. They can't iron everything out. Like, and then all of a sudden they're like, well, we have this date. We got to hit go. It has a stupid timeline. It does. They try to, I don't want to, once again, I don't want to spoil too much, but it's a prequel continuance. They do a really good job when it comes to going back to the original and showing, like, the house and the family and, like, stuff like that. They do a phenomenal job. Some of the cinematography, the wide shots, the pull-outs, the pull-aways, the from the ground up, like, all the dollies and the I'm sure it's 2013, so they were probably still using cranes and stuff like that. Like, dude, this, like, there's a fog in there, there's atmosphere, there's tension, it's nasty. It feels like when people are getting, like, hurt and thrown to the ground, it feels like impact. Like Leatherface is running around. He feels like a dude that's a bit older. He feels like a dude that actually is struggling to lift people, but he's got that strength and stuff like that. He fits the bill. I love 2013. It's plagued by a lot of issues. Got a couple things that suck when they say that, the dialogue. Try not to spoil anything. I really enjoy it. It just needed to be ironed out a little bit more. Some of the CGI sucks. Like, they were kind of going to the school of, like, Saw 5 CGI blood. I love 2013, but it had to fall somewhere. It falls at number 5. I really like this movie for all of its faults. It's not its fault. Like, the end product is its fault, but, like, what it gives us is so underrated, and I feel like there's just not enough love for it. Anyway, that's my number 5. What is your number 4? Let's see what Jabari had to say here. Not a diehard tribal fan. Let's see it. We're being different. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Most of these, I would say 3 is the only one that's kind of boring, especially if you're not a big fan. Like, everything else has enough, like, wacky, like, crazy things happening to where it keeps your attention. Whether or not you end up liking it at the end of the day, most of it is entertaining. What's your number 4?
Yeah. My number 4 is Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3D. Well, Texas Chainsaw 3D. Texas. Everything John just said is accurate. For me, its faults are that the script that was given or screenplay that was given was torn apart by somebody who had only previously done music videos, which is something that plagues horror movies left and right, and I don't know why.
Nightmare reboot,
and that's where you get. Yep, that's where you get a lot of the main issues that fans have with this film. Personally, this is my favorite interpretation of Leatherface. I think that his continuance of Gunnar Hansen, he's got the limp, he's older, he's still a big guy. Dan Yeager did an amazing job taking that characterization. Like, the original Leatherface wasn't just some big brooding Jason Voorhees style guy. He was somebody who was plagued with the concept of he knows what he's doing is not exactly good, but he doesn't know any other way. Like, there's a scene in the original where he puts himself in a corner and he's just kind of like crying and like rocking because he's so uncomfortable with what's happening. But that's what he's in. I felt that connection in 3D. The gimmick of 3D, it was the time. Unfortunately, I mean, Saw did it. Saw was discontinuing. Lionsgate was hoping that this would be the new Saw, and they had plans for a show, like 3 sequels and a graphic novel with Daddario and Dan Yeager, and the movie tanked. And it sucks because personally, this one is probably the one I watched the most. And I mean, I've even got that guy right there is the mask of my unfinished end scene costume that I need to build. I love that look. I love the connective tissue to the original. I do admit its faults. It's got the worst line in the franchise in the movie, but it's just one of my favorites. I mean, I can't stop watching it. I love it.
It's criminally underappreciated. It just is. Like, it sucks because you're just like, as a fan, or even just as anybody watching this, you're just like, how could you direct this? Like, who let this go through? Like, are you not watching and paying attention to what you're? It's 2013, and this is a big budget going to theaters thing. Like, how the hell did you not fix this? But let's see real quick. Jabari said that he had seen the 2006 version. Love 2006. Now, let's see. Now, talking these over, I respect to tell you that the truth. Each movie has its own style until it gets into the present. By then, they all feel like a slight version of TCM remake. Yeah. It's a weird playing ground of horror for directors and for certain studios. That do you want to go there or do you not want to go there? Like, do you want to be insane or do you want to be violent? Like, do you want to, you know what I mean? Yeah, I mean, you're right. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Yeah. So that was your number 4. My number 4, and it's gotta land here. And once again, I don't want it to. I've said that I actually like it better.
Real quick, I think I know what it's gonna be.
As of right now, and by God, I have the right to change my mind. It's 2006. It's 2006 at the beginning.
I called it.
I love all the returning everything. The flavor and everything. I love it. I like that they up the gore. They go a little bit more in depth. I like the family ties all around. I like that they go for more of a what is happening at this time during the Vietnam War and how it affects everybody. The good guys, the bad guys, the environment, the world, the United States, everything. I love that they go back into that. It ties right back into that original movie. It's not as subtle as that original movie, but it's great. I freaking love it. It's just a little bit slower. Had it come out first, I think it would be better because you'd be building up to that second movie. You'd be building up to the ending of that movie. That's what I'm going to say, keeping it mostly spoiler-free. I really do like 2006, but it's got to land somewhere, and it lands at number 4.
No, that's absolutely fair, and where I thought it was going to be, honestly, because I know how well you regard it, but I also know the top 3 for both of us are so well regarded by horror fans all across the board, including both of us, that there's no way that those 3 don't get top 3 seats somewhere. Like, that's just how it is. Yeah.
Right. Like, so Deb was talking about the Saw franchise. I was test over those, and they tried to get. I tried to get Brittany to watch some of those. I tried to get my brother. He watched the original Saw with me, and when that door shuts at the end of that first movie, we all sat back and we were just like, "Whoa!" Like everybody was like, "What?" Now thinking back at it, you're like, "This 55-year-old dude laid on the floor for 5 hours, dude. I lay in my kid's bed that's about that thick for 35 minutes, and I'm dying." So I don't know. I love Saw. I love the franchise. I truly believe that if people start knocking it and talking crap, well, then you're kind of kicking a dead horse. Like, yeah, like obviously this is a franchise that probably shouldn't have gone for as many movies as it did, but if you watch it back to back to back, it's amazing at almost every year how they spat out a new one and kept making it interesting, twisting it. Like, I'm not saying it's perfect, I'm not saying it's phenomenal, but it's amazing the quality that we got and the consistency. I love the Saw franchise. Yeah,
What's funny
yeah,
is
man, it's up there.
what's funny is in the background on silent, I have Saw 5 playing right now.
Oh, do you really?
Yeah.
Caleb, I got this from Caleb.
Yep, I need to finish my other one. I've got one more of those in my garage.
Yeah, dude, I saw the blank one. It's cool. Yeah.
So much work.
But yeah, so yeah, 2006, we love it. Yeah, like we're saying, these next three are not exactly like God tier, but they're phenomenal in their own rights, and each one holds a special place amongst horror history. But let's go. Let's see. Why send me the Jigsaw, man? Hey man, yeah, I had to buy it. I had to wheel and deal and trade for it. Caleb is for sale in more ways than one. You just send him a check.
No, I don't take checks. I need cash or Venmo or PayPal. I don't take checks. Checks bounce. I work for an entity where checks bounce all the time. Not ours, but people that give us checks. So I do make them. Right now I've only got one blank. It'll probably be up for sale within 1 week to 6 months, depending on how inspired I get. So yeah. Yeah, man. If somebody gave me pressure to finish it, I would finish it. But
hey, real quick, I just want
2 or 3
projects right now. I just want to show you this. I've got. Hopefully, I'll have a video come out. But I painted the Walmart $10 figure. I blackwashed it, painted it, clear coat. Dude, this thing for $10 is amazing. After I got done painting it, look at the shine off of that.
Dude,
love it.
That looks phenomenal. Amazing work.
Thank you. Yeah, couple hours, but dude, I love it.
So we're into the top 3. Now, like I said for the last 3, those are all interchangeable. Those I love, I enjoy. These 3 are the best in the franchise, hands down. I feel like that's a pretty universal statement. That said, these 3 spots are how I feel at all times. This is how I would rank these top 3. I don't know about John. It really sucks to do this, but number 3 for me is Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2.
I knew it.
It is a great movie, and it is the attempt at comedy that he claims was supposed to be in the original. It is absolutely bonkers. It makes no sense, but it makes all the sense. It has some really dark, gory scenes with the comedic overtones that just, oh man, it's insane. And Bill Moseley as Chop Top, I can't. That's just, there's no other words. Like Otis and Chop Top, oh god, it's just horror icons. Very rarely do actors get multiple icons, and that dude's got multiple. So yeah, spot 3, TCM2. I have nothing bad to say about it. I know a lot of people will say people who don't like it because of the tone shift, but I feel like those are also the people who may not have seen Next Generation. So grain of salt there.
Right. Well, and it's all. I mean, if you don't like 2, I completely understand it. Especially if you went and watched the '74 movie like my mother did, and then you went and watched '86 Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. If you had hopes for this to be the exact same thing, and how crazy are we going to get in this one? Oh, it gets crazy. But yeah, it goes from. Yeah, it goes from Slaughter Factory to Looney Tunes, like to a degree. I mean, it's still crazy, but anyway, yeah. I mean, and Bill Moseley as Chop Top. If he was if he had a shtick, like he has a bit of a shtick, but if he had like a Michael Myers reoccurring thing, or supernatural, or if he was a dream demon, or if he was something like that, Bill Moseley's Chop Top would be one of the biggest horror icons of all time. Not that he's not. He would just be up there with Jason, Michael, Freddy. He would be. Like, he's phenomenal in this movie. He sent chills down my spine, especially in the beginning of the movie. Like, that is, like, it goes crazy from there. But man, he feels it makes you uncomfortable. That sense of urgency, nastiness, the threat, and it makes you feel like, oh my God, what would this happen if you left your door unlocked and all of a sudden this dude was in your house? Like Man, kind of a thing.
It feels like you're in a gas station in the middle of nowhere and some super scary dude starts banging on the hood of your car and is like trying to get you to buy their CDs so they can get gas to go home, and it's just like, oh man, I am in
You're like,
the
dude,
wrong
I don't even have
place.
a CD player anymore. Yeah.
You know, I don't have money. I don't know how I got here. Mom. Yeah, no.
Right.
He is uncomfortable to watch.
Right.
Yeah.
So my number 3, and once again, there could be arguments to shift these around for anybody, and I would get it for these top 3. Anything else, and you'd have to really sell it to me for me to think that it would be your number 1. But I would want to hear your argument because that's awesome. The more love you have for the like you with Freddy's Dead, I'm glad you love it. If we ever watch it together, I hope that you're like pumping me up and, oh wait, watch for this, look out for this. You know what I mean? Like, oh, but this scene right here. You know what I mean? Like, sending love to crap is better than just like, well, Halloween 78 is great. Well, yeah, it's great. That's not a talking point. Anyway, my number 3, my number 3 is the first Texas Chainsaw Massacre I saw in theaters. It is the 2003 remake. It just is. Now, it just is. It is a better movie than my 1 and my 2. It is a better made movie than the first one and the second one. There's no question. The acting is probably better. The budget's better. Like, for the most part, there's some things that aren't as good. Because like I said earlier, before you got here, man, I was talking about the nastiness of that original movie where, like, you're actually hanging out with real carcasses, like with roadkill, with dead animals, with old human skeletons and stuff like that. Like, Tobe Hooper is a sick man. Like, he actually used a real skeleton in Poltergeist, like in the pool scene where she's in there. She got an ear infection and almost lost her hearing and she didn't know that she was swimming around with multiple dead people, skeletons. I would sue. I'm a germ freak, so I would sue. I would be messed up for life. But let's get back to Texas Chainsaw Massacre. 2003. It's phenomenal. Start to finish. I love Jessica Biel. I actually said it right this time. I didn't say Alba. Jessica Biel is great. This is probably my favorite of her movies. The rest of the cast is solid. Leatherface is awesome. Arlie Ermy and his eyebrows that form around his hat are great. It's great. There's no negatives when it comes to 2003. We were talking about the basement and why it was always wet and it always bothered both of us. And Caleb was like, I bet that's their septic or whatever backing up. Just made the movie even better for me. And nobody said that. I watched so many things on Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3. Nobody ever said that. Dude, you dug up gold with that.
Dude, like, I had always been like, why is that basement so wet? And then I'm sitting there and I'm like, there's no way that they're on city water where they're at. It's a septic tank. Oh my God, the septic tank's full and it's leaking back into the house.
Dude. The only other explanation could be is that they have like a well right next to the house, which I'll buy if we have to. But I like your version better because it just makes it even more nasty. It's 2003. There is this. This is, like I said, this is bias. 2003 is a more enjoyable watch, like consistent, coherent watch than my other 2 movies. It just is. It's a great movie from start to finish. It could arguably be one of the best remakes of all time, next to like John Carpenter's The Thing or The Fly, or I mean, you're talking classic movies to where people forgot there was ever even an original. We're talking that good. It's that good. But it's my number 3.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sorry that I thought of that. So now every time you watch it, you're gonna smell it, and I'm
No, man.
really
That
sorry. I was just,
that takes that movie from a 9.5 to a 10. Like I love that, man. That
and
takes
then
it to a 10.
what is it in '06 when she jumps in that vat of the, and it's like, no, that's poo water. Get out of there. Get out of there.
Oh
That's
my
gotta
god,
be
man.
poo water.
It's foul on all sorts of different levels, man. Like I watched the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which is on Netflix right now, and they're going through the sewer, and like Casey Jones is bitching and moaning. I'm like, yeah, he's walking through poo water. I would be upset too. Like, I wouldn't be all thrilled and like, hey, where's your 5-day-old pizza with penicillin? You know, when they're like, do you want like penicillin on your pizza? No, I'd been pissed too. Anyway, what is your number two? There's no question what your number two is. Drum roll, get out of here. Just say it.
Remake. TCM '03. I absolutely love this movie. It is phenomenal. It is my favorite remake of all time. Um, it did what every other remake strives to do: be original, but also be faithful to the source material. Keep just enough the same and change just enough. And they also made the grime and the dirt more modern. They made it gross, but that cinematography matches back to the original. Um, it has no business being as good as it is. I don't care if you're one of the people who would say like, oh, Friday the 13th is my favorite remake, or Halloween, or what. Those, they're all fun. There's a lot of things to talk about with those. Even the bad ones, there's a lot to talk about with the Nightmare on Elm Street and Child's Play. But Texas Chainsaw Massacre hit every single mark. I don't understand how they did it for 2003 with a relatively new company that was owned by Michael Bay of all people.
Yep.
And they just hit. The cast, the music, the feel of the film. And even though I'm a huge believer that Leatherface shouldn't just be like 7'2" and built like a defensive lineman, it worked. It really did work. I don't know. It gets number two. There's just no way around it. And honestly, the look of Leatherface throughout most of the film, that mask, it's just absolutely amazing. It's creepy. It's terrifying. They
Paul
nailed it.
Paul said 2003 was ahead of its time. I do agree with you there, man. Like they did a shot-for-shot remake of Psycho and people hated it. They did a couple other remakes where people didn't like it because it just wasn't its own thing. And like Caleb said, like they used the ingredients, they used the bullet points, and then they created their own story. You know, they threw in the salt and pepper and some kale, some garlic, and then they made their own dish. Like what you wanted to see, what you know Texas Chainsaw Massacre to be, they brought it to where you could watch it, but then they became their own thing, which kind of opened up the doors a little bit. It was great. 2003, I couldn't say enough.
Yeah.
Universal, man, Paul, I just want to say you went to Universal, this haunted house, man. Thanks for the invite. What the heck, man? You're making that big bucks. I see how it is. I want to go. Man, I got to get rid of these kids before I can have a fun vacation like that. I ain't taking no kids, no meltdown, no daddy I want. No. Anyway, yeah, I just can't. 2003 is great. It's just great. First one, Caleb, I can't see because your shirt. Look down a little bit. Sink down. There you go. First one I ever saw. I had nightmares from it. I was 10. Yeah, man. 2003. Great. Saw it in the theater, man. Was blown away. It was my first Texas Chainsaw Massacre in the theater. I loved every second of it.
What a year. You get that and Freddy versus Jason.
Right.
And Freddy versus Jason is good for completely opposite reasons. Like, that's a whole other topic.
What sucks is like, just real fast. What sucks is like you had Bride of Chucky, so that does popular. So you get Freddy vs. Jason finally. Same director, Ronnie Yu, right? So then that's doing really well. It's crushing at the box office. Let's make a sequel. Well, this movie comes out, and they're like, ooh, or we could spend less money and do a prequel and catch on to this new thing that's going on. Once this happened, then Halloween, let's ride this gravy train. And I get it. They follow trends. I understand that. But god dang it. Had Freddy vs. Jason come out in like 2000, we would have guaranteed got Freddy vs. Jason vs. Ash, which would have been next level sick. I'm so disappointed. Yeah. You're welcome. Yeah, man. That and Scream 3, right? We saw Scream 3 together too, I believe. Man, it was a good time, man. It was a good time. So that's Caleb's number 2, no question. If that was somebody's number 1, if that was somebody's number 2, I would completely understand that. Completely understand. It makes sense. It just does. Period.
Yeah.
My number 2 is 86 Part 2. It's fun. You got to be in the right mood for it, though. It does black comedy like nobody else has done before, like nobody else has done since. There's Jason Lives is like right here, and then you got like Scary Movie, which is like it's cracking jokes, being stupid every 2 seconds is right here, and then you have Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, which is right here, and that's never really been done before. You got Scream, which is a little bit under Friday 6, right? Nobody's hit in between where it's like right there between. It's like almost telling you what it is. It's almost like Deadpool, where it's like telling you to your face what's happening is a fever dream, cocaine, roller coaster ride craziness. But the creep factor in that movie, the ride it takes you on, the intensity, the Caroline Williams is phenomenal as Stretch. So I love the it has one of the best final girls in it. It has one of the best family members in it. I think that the portrayal, I can't remember his name now, by the Leatherface is solid. The cook is amazing. I love Drayton Sawyer. I love him. Everything. Dennis Hopper is kind of a negative. I like him, but he's kind of a negative. He's the weakest part of the movie, and it's not a bad thing. But I just love TCM2. It gives me a ride that nothing else can give me. Like it just does.
If you want to see him play the same character in a far worse movie, go ahead and watch that copy of The Crow Wicked Prayer that I gave you.
Dennis Hopper?
Mm-hmm.
In Wicked Prayer? I don't remember that. I've seen it. I just haven't seen it since like 2014 or something. I don't remember that
Dude, he's
at
the
all.
pastor. I now pronounce you the devil and his shorty.
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna have to rewatch that
what a
then because
line.
I heard the whole movie. I was just stunned by how bad it was. I mean, it was just crazy. It's
I'll
another
take
one of those
movies that
franchises.
should have.
Oh,
I'll take
man.
movies that shouldn't have been made for 500. The Crow, Wicked
Right.
Prayer, top spot.
Right.
Oh, what a movie!
All right, man.
Oh.
And talk. Let's. I mean, it's our number 1. Let's just talk about it. Let's talk about the masterpiece that is the undisputed. You could never recreate this. It's a horror masterpiece. It just is.
It is.
Yeah. It can never be duplicated in today's world.
I mean, it was shot in a relatively short amount of time, but the days were long. They didn't stop. They kept going. They hated each other. They were sick. It was 100+ degrees all the time. They were using real animal carcasses. They were so tired at one scene that Gunnar Hansen decided to go ahead and cut Sally. I can't think of her name off the top of my head.
Now hold back on some of the good points because I want Deb to be able to really, just like I mean it, and the fact that nobody got paid, the fact that like the budget was crap, the fact that Tobe Hooper hadn't really done a whole lot, like the gritty, grimy, nasty, authentic, like the fact that he thought he was making a comedy horror, and that's why he came so strong in '86 is because he didn't want to make the same movie. And he was like, this is kind of what I intended on for the first place anyway. But the problem with that is that it's funny if you're psychotic, or if you've seen it multiple times. But seriously though, it's so deep, like things you don't know, like things you don't notice the first time you watch it. Like the music cues, they're not there. Like the cues you would have for like, like jump scares, nope, they're not there. The cues you would have to make something funny, they're not there. Like the music that they use, the sound effects and stuff like that, they use like real animal noises. Like this is deep stuff, but like you hear like the animals squealing and stuff like that, and the noises that the animals make. By the end of the movie, the people are making those noises because they're losing their minds, and they're legitimately losing their minds because they've shot for days on end without a break, without showers, with just going nuts. 120 plus degrees for 24 plus hours in a single room, like surrounded by all this nastiness. Like people got hurt. One gal was trying to they were all hands on deck. So one gal was trying to like put formaldehyde in a carcass, and she accidentally stabbed herself and put some of that in herself, had to go to the hospital. Like the crazy stuff. Like the guy in the wheelchair, he actually falls down the hill. He actually got paid. There's a check in his pocket as he's falling down the hill because he's like, look, I'm not going down that hill without getting paid. So they actually paid him first. It's just crazy. Like the guy who played the guy in the wheelchair, I can't think of his name.
I can't either.
Why is his name? Anyway, he actually did some method acting to where he acted like that the whole time, where he was like so annoying and loud that the rest of the cast wouldn't talk to him. Like it's just, it's wild. I had it again. I keep having it and then it goes away. It's I'll think about it 5 minutes from now. But it's just crazy, man. Like this movie is. And like I was talking about, like they talk about like the solar flares and what's happening with our universe and our environment and what's happening in the United States, and like this movie is deeper to me, like I said earlier, than The Shining. Like everybody praises The Shining and all this crap. No, this is the movie you need to go watch if you want some like depth to it. The idea of the heat and the system is going to get you. Like you're going out of your element. You're going to another world. You're going to a place you can't escape. The different levels and it's just, this movie is number one. It's better thought out and deeper than The Shining. It's more thought out than Halloween. Friday the 13th. It beats them all.
And it's crazy to think that this is what went on to inspire the slasher genre. Like, you go from Psycho, you go from a couple B-rated movies, and then you get Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which just shocked people left and right. And seeing people say how gory it was when it's not, like that to me shows how much of an effect that how dark the movie is. It works. Like it's unsettling. It feels like you could be in the middle of winter and pop that movie on and it feels like hot summer. It just, oh God, the atmosphere, the lack of sound. You touched on that. It speaks volumes. There's very few movies that attempt it and it works. This is one of them. And it almost never happens in horror. Like, people want that 2-second jump scare every 15 minutes. So, of course, they use music over the top, or they use a sound effect that doesn't make sense over and over again to get that jump scare. This movie doesn't play on jump scares. It plays on gross out horror without actually showing that much gross out. It's illogical, movie, but it works.
All the underlying psychological, all the little bullet points in this movie, I don't know if you could do it on purpose, to be honest with you. It was a perfect storm. Like, and the reason why he created this whole family and this whole everything is because it was inspired by true events, by Ed Gein. It was inspired by Psycho, and it was inspired by his own family events and family gatherings. Like, the annoying things he had to listen to, the horror stories, the dread of having to hang out with his own family. Like, there's just
Yeah.
so much to talk about and love about this movie. But it's interesting because, like we talked about in our commentaries, this is not like 1 and 2. 1 and 2 are my 1 and 2, but 06 and 03 are a much easier watch. They're better flavored together, but they just don't have the depth. They don't have the authenticness as this 74. Keep in mind 74, like you're talking Black Christmas, same time, right? You're talking slasher. This is, 60, you had Peeping Tom that did some slasher stuff. You had Psycho, but now all of a sudden you're getting The Exorcist, right? Still one of the best horror movies of all time. I showed it to my wife, who's not a horror fan. She didn't like it, didn't think it was scary, pissed me off. But she's not Catholic. She wasn't in that time. I completely understand how if you watch The Exorcist today, and if you're not Catholic, if you're not religiously strong,
Yeah.
if you don't believe in ghosts or possession, and if you cannot put yourself into that time period, I mean, they're in a different country, right? The mom is rich. Like, you can't connect with that. But this movie, you can connect to this movie if you don't. 74, Texas Chainsaw, you were a teenager once. You've been in hot summers. You've been in uncomfortable places. This movie touches on some of your worst fears. And it brings up the question on, is this going to happen? What is happening? Is this really what I'm seeing? Like, it's so good, man. It's so good. This is next level stuff. I mean, some people want to say it's cut and dry and boring. Next level stuff.
What's even crazy is John and I have had this conversation too. The fact that it's in both of our number one spot, yet it's probably watched almost the least, just because it is, after your first viewing, it's that kind of movie where you have to kind of prepare yourself almost to sit down and watch it. It's not a put on and turn your brain off kind of movie. It takes the full attention, but there's something almost taxing, for lack of a better word, to watch it. Normally, I would say that's a negative on a movie, because there's lots of movies where that is a huge negative. But here, it's a positive. It plays into something that keeps it fresh. Like, if I took the time to think about the next time I want to watch this and I watch it, I'm going to enjoy it. But I can't pop it on like every 3 days while I'm like cleaning up a room or something like that. That's much more like Texas Chainsaw 3D. Like,
Right.
That is something that I can play in the background while I'm doing chores, cooking. I can have it on my phone while I'm like hitting the treadmill. Like, that's fine. I can't do that with this. This takes all my attention, and it takes something out of me to watch it.
Right. No, I
It's
think
crazy.
you're right. 2013 is probably the best. Yeah, just in the background or turn your brain off. Just enjoy it. I think you're right, man. I this is not like, it's not The Office, right? It's not Freddy vs. Jason. It's not Friends. It's not comfort food. It's not comfort watch. It's immersive. It's like watching The Shining. Like, The Shining, if you wanted to tell me it's boring because it's in your brain and it's kind of slow because it's all build, I completely understand why you would think that. But if you sit there and watch it, and you watch the descent into madness in both these movies, if you immerse yourself into these movies, if you really give it your full attention, whoop, they're deep. That's actually why I've avoided for so long. That could actually happen. Yeah, like I said, it's extremely loosely based on Ed Gein and stuff like that. It's inspired by. It's not actual true story, but yeah, it's
Honestly, that's why movies like this and movies like The Strangers actually have an effect on me. Like, The Strangers is, I thought it was criminally underrated, and recently it's been gaining a lot more attention. But Pray at Night was all right, but that first Strangers movie was so terribly unsettling, and it's like, why are you doing this? Because you were home. Like, oh.
Well, that's
Oh.
actually The Strangers. Deb, I don't know if you've seen that or not, but The Strangers is actually inspired by true events, and it actually is more based on true events than Texas Chainsaw Massacre. The Strangers is actually based on the Charlie Manson murders, the family murders. So yeah, I mean, it's basically what they did. Like, hey, and you're gonna go kill these people today. Go knock on this door, and you know. So yeah, I mean, The Strangers is super freaky. But god dang, did they make a lot of stupid decisions in that movie. But yeah, I liked Pray at Night, but god, they make a lot of stupid decisions in that movie too. But it's funny though, because like horror fans, when you watch enough horror, right? When you watch The Walking Dead and you have to see what people have to do to survive, and you kind of get into that mindset where you're like, yeah, I could literally rip somebody's throat out if I had to, right? You could get into that, like, put me in the corner and see what happens mood. But the average person, I think if somebody came at you with a knife and caught you off guard, you probably would just cower in the corner and get stabbed. But as a horror fan, I don't want to see that. I want to see you at least struggle or, you know, do something. I don't know. There's some things in some of these horror movies I'm like, god dang it.
I want to see you like Joe Grizzly. Like, let me introduce myself. Like, at least that.
I got a Taco Deluxe Supreme firing back at me.
He's talking back at me. God, that's great.
We had a lot of fun. Guys, I love the Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise. It is probably the most, like, wonky all over the place, like, fun to talk about. Like, I had so much fun tonight. I can't wait. We'll come back next week. I didn't think we were going to do something, but next week we'll go through the masks, we'll go through the actors, we'll go through the families, we'll talk about all the certain things. We'll talk about our hopes and dreams for the next movie. Deb, if you can, try to watch that 74 and then go and watch this new movie. You might just skip my list altogether, and just since it's available on Netflix, just check it out. But had a lot of fun. Thank you, Jabari. Thank you, Deb. Thank you, Paul, and everybody else that was in here. We really appreciate it. We had a lot of fun. We'll be back. I've got some videos, hopefully, for these custom things. Caleb, try to do a couple photos, man, and post those on JK so I can see, like, the progression of your mask as you do that. Sorry, that sounded weird. Yeah, post some photos of your Saw Billy mask and progression maybe, and post a little thing on that. That'd be kind of cool. I'd like to see the progression on that. But anyway, it was a lot of fun, guys. We'll see you next week. The Saw is family. So are you. We're out of here. Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Let's get do your thing, cuz?
No.
You're good at the table.